a single nose, some chapped lips, long, weird wool socks. A bunch of clothes. Some deodorant. And a large cup of coffee. What do these things have in common? You would suspect nothing. These things represent a specific man, a specific human, to be more specific, a man of great wonder and awe. Today, this human will discuss his interest in arts and possibly pursuing a career in this subject. The Humanities Mass Communications Department at Norwalk Community College presents The New Directors, the show that introduces you to television's future writers, directors, and personalities. And now join our hosts to meet the next new director.
Thank you for joining us for today's edition of The New Directors. All of the people involved with this program are students in the television production course and are directing, switching, controlling audio, operating cameras, and acting as talent for the first time today. The guests you're about to meet are students who, when not on camera, are behind the scenes working hard to bring this production to you with as few mistakes as possible. Each student will write and direct 4 different productions. The program will give them the chance to talk about themselves, the productions they have completed, and give you the chance to get to know them and watch their progress throughout the semester. Our guest is a person who, in my personal opinion, is one of the most egocentric people I've ever met. The guy can't go 5 minutes without looking at himself in a mirror. Here he is today to talk about his boring interest in the arts. Now I'd like for you to meet our guest today, Connor Shermans.
Hi, nice to meet you. It's an honor.
No, the honor is all mine. I've been told you have a keen interest in the arts, more specifically, drawing and painting. Would you explain to us in more detail about the tools and processes it goes through to be an artist?
I'd be glad to explain you in more detail. Well, art for me starts off when I was a little boy. I always enjoyed making some doodles in preschool and doing some little paintings. And then in high school, I took that to the next level. I developed my skills. Yeah, I developed them. And now I'm painting at an 8th grade level. It's really good. I've been doing a lot of painting. In this video you're about to see, I can show you some examples of materials that I use and ways that I go through to paint. These are paintbrushes. I use those to paint. Those are some many different kinds of paintbrushes. There's a closer view of them. That is watercolor paint, ultramarine. That is a palette that you put the paint on. Now this is how I get ready to paint. I put on a suit. It's a chemical suit or coveralls so that my clothes don't get wet or dirty with all of the paint. So I take my time and I put this suit on, as you can see in the video. Sometimes it takes a while. These are fragile suits, but they're cheap, so I have a lot of them. After I zip it up, I put on something else. Because there are fumes in a lot of paints, like oil paints, I use a gas mask. This gas mask I got off Amazon. It's an Israeli gas mask. I have 2 of those because one of them broke once. Now I'm all ready to paint. This is an example of something that I would paint. An egg. So this is something that I would do. I would set up with my palette and with a purple piece of paper, and I'd sit down, I'd get my paintbrushes out, and I'd start painting. And that's basically it. That's what I do. It's what I love.
Could you tell us why you decided to take this TV production course?
Well, in addition to painting, since 6th grade, I've always had an interest in the art of film. I've been making my own short films since that year, and I've just been developing over time. And I've been wanting to learn how to make and work as a team with people and in broadcasting rooms, such as this one. So that's pretty much why.
What are some of the most useful things you have learned in this course?
I learned a little bit how to edit with Avid, specifically using keyboard shortcuts such as I, O, and V, which is input, output, and then cutting it in the timeline. But I mean, primarily I edit with Premiere, but since Avid is a broadcasting editing program, I thought that it would be good to use it. Lately, I've actually been editing with it at home. I got the free trial, and I'm just going away at it. It's really good. I also want to learn how to work in a broadcasting studio. Specifically, I learned how to use a mix board, program a teleprompter, and direct. What I really got out of this class was the importance of working as a team, rather than just create things by myself. It's always a lot less stressful to work with others.
Please tell us about your learning project, action sequence, and your fall project.
Not only will I tell you about these projects, but I'll show you a video too. For my learning project, I wanted to film outside. I filmed in conditions that weren't so good at the beach, and it's very difficult to film here, especially on an overcast day, because I like contrast, so this was just sort of a cast shadow over everything, and it was sort of hard to catch beauty, but in the editing program I was able to develop a lot more skill with that. But it was really just a basic video that I used with basic cuts and no movement and just very minimal action. Second was my action sequence project. I really went outside of the box in my own comfort zone for this one. I used basic camera angles with no movement, but heavily experimented on visuals as well as sound. I filmed at night, which allowed me for greater control over lighting in an outdoors environment. I'm really satisfied how this one turned out. It's probably my favorite. For my fall foliage project, I was so satisfied with filming at night for my sequence one that I decided to do it again. This time I used greater experimentation with camera movements, such as zoom-ins and outs and rack focusing. I also experimented with time-lapse. For this, I used a long shutter speed while the camera would continuously take photos for a few hours at night. I also changed the opacity over. I superimposed. That's the word. And those are my projects.
Wow, very impressive. Now, all three of those were very impressive, but tell me about your best project.
I'd have to say that my best project is my action sequence. I'm really proud of it. I really took my ability to the next level. I relied on sound as much as I did with my visuals, which I believe is what should be done when creating a video. I used shots I've never done before, such as macro close-ups, which really emphasized the gore in the video. And I used a lot of visual effects. Visual effects like the fog machine, and I used fake blood for that, because, stuffed bears, they don't have real blood inside them. And I used masks, because I thought that would be funny. There's me cutting up the bear's head. And there's the macro close-up I was talking about. I think it really emphasizes on the gore. And I also used the blur transition. Poor man's dissolved for that right there, but it's going to fade to black right now, because that's just an example. And that's it.
Impressive. You mentioned the variety of things you have learned in this course. What was the most interesting and important skill that you have learned, and how will you put it to use?
I'd have to say I really learned how to work well with others and push myself to do projects in order to meet deadlines and my satisfaction. I got a lot out of experimenting on my own with time lapses and sound, which I've never really tried to do before in this class. I've had a lot of technical problems because I've been editing on a different program versus what the class has had. But recently I switched to the program, and I'm trying to figure out how to fix those technical errors. But that's pretty much it.
Well, today we got to meet someone who enjoys the wonder and mystery of the arts. A vast world full of people who think they're better than everyone else. I'd like to thank our guest, Connor Shermans, for joining us today.
It's an honor.
We hope you enjoyed meeting some of television's future directors, and we hope you will continue to join us each week to watch our progress. Thank you and have a great day.
This has been The New Directors, with your host, Evan Rapp, directed by Nicole Marinelli. I'm your announcer, Michael Long. The New Directors is a Norwalk Community College student production.